Imagine just, staring at a blank screen, right?
Right.
And you type the words shame, like Iron Mail.
Right.
And then literally 10 seconds later, you're hearing this massive 40-piece orchestra and a grieving, just world-weary Viking choir singing your exact pain back to you, like in perfect high fidelity.
It's kind of wild to even think about.
It is, and today we're looking at a guy who did exactly that because, well, we curated these specific sources for your deep dive today because it perfectly illustrates that exact creative bottleneck you were looking into last week.
The gap between the idea and the execution.
Exactly, that gap between having this profound, beautiful idea in your head and actually having the technical skills to bring it into the physical world.
Yeah, and that gap is, it is the ultimate creative friction, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
So today we're looking at a really unique collection of sources. We've got YouTube video transcripts, some really fascinating channel analytics, and this highly detailed Q&A document from a creator named Richard Pugh.
And we should probably clarify that pronunciation, right?
Yeah, we definitely should. The man himself notes in the text, and you can kind of read a bit of a textual smile in his answer, that his surname is pronounced Pugh. He explicitly clarifies that it is not Puff, and it's definitely not Pug.
Which, honestly, that just sets the perfect tone for what we are going to explore today.
It really does. It's so unassuming.
Right, because you would expect someone who is working at the absolute bleeding edge of artificial intelligence and musical generation to, I don't know, present themselves like some untouchable Silicon Valley tech guru.
Oh, for sure. Usually there's a lot of ego involved in this space.
Exactly. But instead, we have this guy just politely clarifying his last name. And he's operating a YouTube channel with literally 3 subscribers. Just three.
Yeah.
And yet, despite that, he has over 70 highly produced, incredibly complex songs uploaded to that channel.
It is a total anomaly. When you look at the modern creator economy, the entire infrastructure is built around audience capture.
Yeah, the hustle.
Right, exactly. You make things to be seen, you optimize the thumbnail, you chase the algorithm, you basically beg people for the subscribe.
Smash that like button, right?
Exactly. But here, we have this vast repository of incredibly dense, emotionally heavy art that seems to exist purely for its own sake.
Just for him.
Yeah. And the mission of our deep dive today is to really deconstruct how human beings are actually collaborating with AI right now. Not in theory, but in actual messy practice.
Okay, so let's really unpack this, because I feel like the general assumption out there is that using AI to make music is just, well, a totally passive experience.
Oh, absolutely. That's the prevailing narrative.
Right, people assume it's just the lazy route. Like you just type, make me a hit song, you press enter, and then you go make a sandwich while the neural network does all the heavy lifting.
And that is exactly the biggest misconception we need to dismantle today.
Because the way Richard Pugh gets to his final product is going to completely change how you think about AI art.
It really is. Richard's Q&A text breaks down his exact step-by-step process, and it is meticulously labor-intensive.
It's not a push-button thing at all.
Not even slightly. He states that the process always starts with a theme or a concept. But crucially, he pairs that with the specific imagery of the feelings he is trying to portray.
So he's not just saying, like, make a country song.
Exactly. He is not starting with a genre tag. He is starting with raw emotional intent. And then he plugs that intent into an AI generator to create what he considers to be merely a first draft of the lyrics.
And see, if this were the passive push-a-button scenario that everyone talks about, that is exactly where the creative process would end.
You just take the output and run with it.
Right. You take the output, you upload it, you call yourself a genius, and you're done. But the text gets incredibly detailed about what happens next.
Yeah, the manual intervention phase.
Exactly. He takes those AI-generated lyrics, and he goes through them, and I'm quoting here, word by word, line by line, section by section.
He's agonizing over it.
He really is. He adapts them, changes them, rewrites them wherever he feels it's necessary to obtain the vocal flow and impact he's looking for.
Which is such a traditional songwriter thing to do.
It is. He isn't just accepting the machine's output, he is actively sculpting it.
He is using the AI as an incredibly fast brainstorming partner, really. A partner that just provides a block of raw marble.
The machine provides the mass, but Richard is the one with the chisel.
That's a great way to put it. And the process doesn't even stop with the lyrics.
Right, there's a whole second phase.
Yeah, he takes those newly refined, human-edited lyrics and feeds them back into the AI. Only this time, he adds highly specific keywords to invoke a precise sound, tempo, and orchestral impact to emphasize those specific lyrics.
Right. He's layering the instructions. So the way I'm visualizing this, and tell me if this tracks, because I've been thinking about this, it feels sort of like a film director working with an incredibly talented, but maybe slightly erratic improv actor.
Okay, an improv actor, go on.
Like, the director sets the emotional stakes. They say, you're a weary soldier returning home. And the actor, which is the AI in this case, just throws out some lines.
Right.
And the director says, no, pull back here. Give me more anchor on this line. Maybe pause for a second longer right here until they capture the absolute perfect take.
I see where you're going with that, but I'm not entirely sure I buy the improv actor analogy, actually.
Wait, really? Why not? I thought it was a pretty good analogy.
Well, because an improv actor, no matter how erratic they are, they bring their own lived human experience to the stage.
Oh, I see.
Right, like
Yeah.
they understand what anger physically feels like in their body. They understand the actual weight of exhaustion.
Yeah, and the AI obviously doesn't.
Exactly. The AI brings absolutely zero lived experience to the interaction. It only brings statistical probability.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I see where you're going with this now.
So a more accurate analogy for how this mechanism actually works is to think of it as a highly advanced predictive text keyboard for audio.
A predictive text keyboard. Wow.
Yeah, because the AI doesn't know what a weary soldier feels like. It just knows that mathematically, in its vast training data, words related to weariness are often situated near acoustic parameters that feature lower tempos, minor keys, and specific vocal timbres.
So it's just connecting the math of the word weariness to the math of a slow cello.
Precisely. Left to its own devices, it will just give you the mathematical average of sadness. It will give you the most statistically probable acoustic output.
So it basically just defaults to the middle of the road. It defaults to the cliche every single time.
Exactly. So the human director in your scenario isn't coaxing a better performance out of an actor with feelings.
Right, because there are no feelings.
Right. The human is forcefully pushing this mathematical model out of its high probability comfort zone. Richard is forcing the AI to combine acoustic and linguistic elements that wouldn't normally sit next to each other in the training data.
Okay, that makes so much sense. And he explicitly notes in the Q&A that once he has this musical draft, he listens to it in isolation.
Yes, on headphones.
On headphones. And he does it several times. And honestly, listening on headphones is such a specific, revealing detail to me.
How so?
Well, because you don't listen on closed-back studio headphones if you are just casually checking the melody, you know?
That's true.
You are listening for the spatial mix. You are listening for the balance of the frequencies, the subtle background elements, the exact decay of the reverb. You're analytically assessing the acoustic space.
You're in engineer mode at that point.
Exactly.
And he states he critiques the musical score and its alignment to his vision, taking rigorous notes for any changes.
Rigorous notes, just for a hobby project.
Yeah. Then he takes those notes, plugs the whole thing back into the AI, doing several repetitions if required, until he generates a version that he feels is right.
And he adds a really fascinating caveat in the text there. He says he iterates until it's right, quote, for that time.
For that time. Yeah, that implies so much.
It really does. It implies he views the song not as a fixed, immutable recording, but almost as a living document. He knows the digital nature of the medium means he could theoretically keep tweaking it forever.
Endless iteration.
Exactly.
Right.
But this level of granular, iterative intervention, it really raises a massive philosophical question, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The authorship question.
Yes, the authorship question. Because if the AI provides the raw acoustic generation, but the human does the meticulous carving, the word-by-word editing, the iterative acoustic critique, who is the true author?
Right. Like, are you a songwriter if you didn't actually play the chords?
Exactly.
It's a central question that the legal and artistic worlds are currently just endlessly wrestling with. But Richard Pugh's text has a very clear, completely uncompromising stance on this.
He does not mince words about it.
No, he doesn't. He points out his channel description, which literally reads, "Any AI music uploaded is copyright owned by me."
Wow. He's planting his flag.
He is claiming absolute human ownership of the curated output.
Which, honestly, when you really look at the sheer amount of manual intervention we just discussed, it makes logical sense.
It does.
He is not claiming he physically played the drums, but he's claiming the composition as a whole, the specific arrangement of those sounds, the specific emotional narrative is his intellectual property.
Right. It's the concept of authorship through curation and intent.
Exactly. Authorship through intent.
Because without his specific emotional intent, His line-by-line edits and his relentless iterative prompting, that exact piece of music would never exist in the universe.
It would just be floating in the math.
Yeah, the AI is just a vast ocean of acoustic probability. Richard is the one steering the ship to a very specific, highly localized island. The machine literally cannot navigate there on its own.
And I really want you, the listener, to think about this in the context of your own work.
It applies to everything, really.
It really does. If you're listening to this and you've ever faced a creative block, maybe you need to draft a complex proposal or design a presentation or even write a piece of music yourself. Staring at a blank white page is mentally paralyzing.
The tyranny of the blank page.
Tyranny of the blank page. The friction of getting from 0 to 1 is immense. It takes so much energy just to start.
Oh, the hardest part's always starting.
But what if you had a system that could instantly provide a chaotic, messy, but structurally coherent first draft?
It changes everything.
It completely removes the terror of the blank page. It changes the entire friction point of creativity. Instead of burning all your cognitive energy just trying to generate the raw material, your energy is spent entirely on refinement, editing, and taste.
You get to skip to the fun part.
We get to skip to the front part.
And taste-like, the ability to listen to two slightly different variations of a song and know instinctively which one evokes the correct feeling of melancholy is arguably the most fundamentally human element of art.
Yes, because AI doesn't have taste.
The AI cannot possess taste. It only possesses probability.
Right. But, and there is a very big but here.
Always a but.
Always. While this process sounds highly intentional and creative, there is still a massive, lingering stigma around AI art.
Oh, huge stigma.
People hear the phrase AI music and they immediately recoil. They think it's inherently lesser or that it's cheating somehow.
Yeah, the cheating argument is very common.
But Richard actually tackles this stigma head-on in his Q&A, and his defense of it is just fascinating.
He frames it through what we can call the synthesizer debate.
Right.
In the text, Richard asks rhetorically, why AI? Well, why not? And then he makes a very specific, historically grounded comparison. He calls the AI generator the modern-day equivalent of a synthesizer.
Let's really dig into that comparison. Because historically, when the electronic synthesizer first became widely commercially available back in the day, the traditional musical establishment absolutely hated it.
Oh, they despised it. The musicians' unions were up in arms.
They really were. They viewed it with the exact same suspicion we see with AI today. They thought it was fake music. They thought it was going to put real horn sections out of work.
And every major technological leap in the mechanics of art faces this exact same cultural immune response.
A cultural immune response, yeah.
Look at when photography was invented. Painters argued it wasn't real art because you were just letting a machine capture the light.
Right. You weren't physically mixing oils on a palette. You were just pushing a button.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the synthesizer faced the exact same scrutiny.
And Richard points out in the text that synthesizers were historically used by musicians to create sounds from instruments they couldn't physically play.
Right.
He writes, and I'm quoting him again here, "I use AI to generate or synthesize the music that I am unable to play. Like a pianist uses a synthesizer to create a music score, incorporating multiple instruments the pianist is unable to play."
The underlying logic he's utilizing there is really profound if you think about it.
It really is.
He is arguing that the ultimate goal of the artist is simply to manifest the sound they hear in their head into the physical world.
The end goal is the sound.
Yes. The mechanical tool used to cross the gap between the brain and the speaker does not invalidate the emotional resonance of the music itself.
He notes that the interface is just different. Like, the keyboard player knows how to operate the plastic keys to trigger a cello sample, right?
Right.
But Richard says, I use keywords, tag phrases, musical styling, etc. as words, rather than pressing of keys.
He is mapping language directly to acoustic phenomena. He's bypassing the physical interface of the instrument entirely.
Okay, I have to push back here, though,
Okay, let's hear it.
because this is where the debate gets really hot among traditional musicians, and I want to make sure we are rigorously examining Richard's claim impartially here.
Fair enough.
Is it really the exact same thing? Because playing a synthesizer, even if you're using it to mimic a flute or a cello or whatever, it still requires a deep understanding of chords, scales, timing, and music theory.
That's true. You still have to physically interact with the time signature in real time.
Exactly. You need musical literacy. But using an AI requires an understanding of language, Emotional vocabulary and adjectives. You are literally just typing words.
Right.
So are we just replacing musical literacy with linguistic literacy? And if we are completely removing the requirement for musical theory, does that fundamentally change the nature of what the art even is?
That is the million-dollar question.
Like, is replacing a G minor seventh chord with the word melancholic really the same artistic process? I mean, is it?
This raises such an important question, and you are hitting on the absolute crux of the debate here. The required skill set has fundamentally shifted. There is no denying that.
It's a completely different skill.
But I would argue that what Richard is highlighting is an ultimate democratization in art. The barrier to entry has simply moved.
It's moved from physical to psychological.
Precisely. It used to be physical dexterity. How fast can you move your fingers on a fretboard, combined with the rote memorization of musical theory.
Right. Knowing your circle of fifths.
Exactly. But now, the barrier to entry is emotional articulation.
Emotional articulation. That is such a great phrase.
Think about it. You have to be able to describe the pain or the joy or the exact vibe you want with extreme linguistic precision.
Because if you just type sad song, the AI will just give you generic garbage.
Exactly, generic garbage. You still need a soul. You still need a vision. You still have to know what heartbreak actually feels like in order to curate a song about it that actually resonates with another human being.
So true.
You just don't need to know how to execute a complex chord progression on a physical object to express it audibly anymore. You are acting as the composer and the conductor rather than the instrumentalist.
So the AI acts as this incredibly complex translation layer. It translates the linguistic description of emotion into the mathematical language of music, completely automatically.
It's a wild paradigm shift.
It really is.
Yeah.
And if the barrier to entry is now emotional articulation rather than physical dexterity, I think we need to look at what Richard is actually choosing to articulate with his newfound freedom.
Which brings us to his highly unusual, incredibly specific approach to the Viking genre.
Yes, because this was so surprising to me. If you go on YouTube right now and just search for Viking music, you are going to get a very specific, monolithic wall of sound.
We all know the sound.
Right. It's going to be harsh. It's going to be aggressively loud. They're going to be pounding leather drums and just people screaming about Odin, axes, blood, glory, and Valhalla.
It is essentially historical workout music.
Exactly. It's pure Jim O'Neill.
It's a hypermasculine historical trope that has just been commodified into a very narrow acoustic aesthetic over the last decade.
Like Marvel movie Vikings.
Exactly like that. And Richard explicitly acknowledges this exact stereotype in his text. He notes that the trials of battle are the standard expectation for Viking anthems.
But he goes a completely different route.
He deliberately chose to subvert that expectation. He wanted to focus on the unseen, unspoken aftermath of all that violence.
He writes that he wanted to create a multi-stage story. He wanted to look at the end of the battles, the long, just brutally weary journey back home for a warrior who has survived, but who has fundamentally lost his purpose.
He is exploring deep psychological trauma.
Yes, and not just from the warrior side either, which is fascinating, but from the family side. The spouse waiting at home, the family torment.
Right.
He is using this aggressive, loud trope as a Trojan horse to explore deep psychological vulnerability.
And this is exactly where the combination of his line-by-line editing and his high-level emotional articulation really shines. Let's look at the actual lyrics from the source material.
Let's do it.
And we need to remember as we read these that these are not generic first draft AI outputs. These are the sculpted, human-iterated final lyrics.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting. I want to do a lyrical deep dive here, because when I first read through the source documents we pulled for you today, I actually had to stop and catch my breath on a few of these lines.
You hit hard.
They really do.
Yeah.
Let's look at the song Ashes by the Fjord. The narrator's returning home after the wars, and the lyrics say, "I burned my own roof down with hands. My daughter left a shadow where her small boots used to be."
Wow.
And then it goes on, "Now the house just holds my footsteps, and they sound like memory."
The spatial awareness in those lyrics is just remarkable. The house holding his footsteps.
It's so visually evocative. And later in that exact same song, he drops this line. He says, "I wore shame like iron mail."
I wore shame like iron mail. That is just a stunning piece of imagery.
Right.
Because it takes the literal physical armor of a Viking iron mail, which is heavy, it's cold, and it's specifically designed to protect the wearer from external trauma.
Right, to keep swords out.
Exactly. And it flips it into a metaphor for internal psychological burden. The protection has literally become the prison. It's heavy, it drags you down, and it is inextricably linked to the violence you've committed.
It's unbelievable writing. And an AI, operating just on statistical averages, does not naturally generate the phrase shame like iron mail.
Not at all.
It might say, shame was heavy or my armor was heavy today. But to conflate the psychological emotion of shame with the physical object of iron mail requires a human brain actively forcing those semantic concepts together.
It requires a human understanding of irony and metaphor.
Exactly.
Let's look at another track. Come walk with me.
Okay.
The narrator is reflecting on his deteriorating physical and mental state, and he says, "My chest is a drum punched full of holes."
Ah, man. Again, taking the traditional instruments of war, the pounding war drum that usually signifies adrenaline and marching armies, and completely subverting it to represent brokenness and exhaustion.
Yes.
Because a drum punched full of holes can no longer resonate. It can no longer keep the beat for the army. It is completely useless for its intended purpose, just like the narrator feels he is.
He is dismantling the Viking trope, instrument by instrument, metaphor by metaphor.
And he doesn't shy away from the darkness of returning to a family that might not even want you back either. Look at the lyrics from Black Oak Oath.
Let's hear them.
I saw my ruin in her eyes, and every mile I made her pay.
Just brutal honesty.
It is. He is actively acknowledging his own toxicity, his own brokenness spilling over onto his family. He says, I knelt inside that crowded aisle and heard my dead kin say. It's just raw, unadulterated PTSD.
What's truly fascinating here is how he grounds the whole saga in a shared, relatable humanity by including the family's perspective, too.
Yeah, the spouse's perspective.
In the track Come Home to Me, which is sung from the perspective of the spouse waiting for this broken warrior to return, the lyrics are, I left the gate unlatched so your soul could know.
I left the gate unlatched so your soul could know. It is incredibly tender.
It really is.
It contrasts so sharply with the violence of the overarching theme.
And if we connect this back to the mechanics we discussed earlier, we really see the true value of Richard's manual intervention. As we established, a language model is a cliché machine. It seeks the path of least resistance.
Right. It wants to give you Thor and lightning.
Exactly. So to get lyrics with this level of psychological depth, Richard, acting as the prompt engineer and the director, must be ruthlessly guiding the output. The machine is just the vocabulary. Richard is the heart providing the actual empathy.
The causality is the most important takeaway here, I think. The AI did not suddenly develop an understanding of complex human PTSD.
Obviously not.
The AI does not know what a broken marriage feels like. Richard brought his human empathy to the tool and forced the tool to articulate it mathematically.
Which perfectly transitions us from the emotional side of the art to the hard, mechanical reality of exactly how he forces the tool to articulate it.
Right. Getting into the weeds.
We've talked about the why and the what. Now we need to look at the raw data of how the synthesizers actually played.
And we have the exact text source detailing both the final lyrics and the technical keywords Richard used to generate the acoustic music for the final Viking track, which is titled Hold the Fire.
And the contrast between the lyrics and the prompt used to generate the music is just staggering.
It's night and day, because the lyrics for Hold the Fire are very simple, very sparse. They almost read like minimalist poetry.
Let's hear them.
It goes, we came from the fjord with our sleeves full of salt, boots in the dark mud, heartbeats slow, then warm.
It's very quiet, very visual,
Yeah.
very reserved.
Yeah. But then you look at the prompt, the actual keywords he used to instruct the AI on how to build the acoustic environment around those lyrics. It does not read like poetry at all.
Not even a little bit. It reads like a highly technical sound engineer's mixing board.
I am going to read this prompt verbatim because you listening right now, you have to hear the sheer density of the instruction here.
The work.
This is exactly what Richard typed to get the sound he wanted. He wrote, Viking anthem with male vocals, soft tribal pulse, and tapping frame drums. Verse stays bare with low chant and hand claps. Pre-chorus tightens with rising horns and gang shouts. Chorus opens wide with stacked unison hooks and long vowel holds. Bridge drops to a cold drone and lone voice before the final lift. Deep, tense, heroic, with wide cinematic reverb, ice bell accents, and a punchy low-end roar. Deep, healing, nostalgic, low, soft male vocals drone.
Just incredible. This is exactly where we see linguistic literacy completely replacing musical theory.
Yeah.
He isn't saying, play a C minor chord progression at 60 beats per minute, modulating to the relative major in the chorus.
Right, none of that traditional terminology.
He is controlling the arrangement dynamically through descriptive language. Verse stays bare, pre-chorus tightens, chorus opens wide. He is literally commanding the pacing and the density of the track with adjectives.
And he is heavily utilizing acoustic terminology too, like wide cinematic reverb. When he types that, he isn't just asking for a generic echo effect.
No, he's asking for a physical space.
Exactly. He is telling the AI to mathematically model the acoustic reflections of a massive, empty physical space, like a canyon or an empty grand hall, and apply that spatial modeling specifically to the frequencies of the vocals and drums.
And ice bell accents. What a phenomenal instruction that is.
Right. I mean, what does that even sound like to you?
Well, an ice bell has a very sharp, chilling, brittle, high-frequency sound.
Like glass, almost.
Yeah, like shattering glass. It pierces right through a dense mix. He is using that specific, brittle high end to contrast with the punchy low-end roar he asked for at the end of the prompt.
So he's balancing the EQ with words.
He is carving out the frequency spectrum using adjectives. He is acting as the sound engineer, the composer, and the producer all simultaneously.
Let's really think about the unseen labor here, though, because we know from the Q&A that he listens in isolation on headphones and iterates multiple times.
Many, many times.
Just imagine the trial and error required to get the AI to execute that exact dynamic build. He probably generated a version, listened to the bridge, and thought, no, the drone needs to drop out a millisecond sooner. The horns are stepping on the vocal hold.
So he goes back, tweaks the text, changes rising horns to maybe delayed rising horns, and generates it again, over and over.
This completely destroys the push-a-button myth for me. The listener only ever hears the final, polished, emotionally resonant track.
They don't see the struggle.
They have no idea how much hidden labor went into it. They don't see the dozens of discarded versions, the agonizing tweaking of adjectives, the absolute obsession with getting the punchy low-end roar perfectly balanced against the nostalgic low, soft vocals.
It sounds creatively fulfilling, sure, but honestly, it sounds exhausting.
It sounds like an exercise in relentless curation.
Which raises a really interesting, broader question about Richard himself, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. We have spent all this time talking about this incredibly deep, cohesive, thematic Viking saga. You'd think, okay, Richard Pugh is a Viking historian.
Right, like this is his life's work.
This is his magnum opus. He is a hardcore fantasy metal purist dedicating his life to this one specific aesthetic.
But if you look at the broader landscape of his YouTube channel data, that theory completely falls apart.
Completely crumbles. Let's look at that channel data, because this blew my mind when I first opened the source files. As we mentioned at the top of the deep dive, he has 3 subscribers.
Just 3.
He has 70 videos. The view counts are essentially negligible. We were talking 10 views here, 4 views there. He is not a viral sensation. He is completely under the radar.
We discussed his channel description earlier regarding his copyright stance, but let's look at the very first line of that exact same description.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
It reads, "This is where I store music I like to listen to."
This is where I store music I like to listen to. There is something so incredibly pure about that statement.
It's so refreshing.
He isn't trying to hack the YouTube algorithm. He isn't utilizing clickbait thumbnails to drive engagement. He has 3 subscribers. He is doing this entirely, 100%, for himself.
He is manifesting the sounds in his head solely so he can enjoy them.
It is the unadulterated joy of creation, completely divorced from the pressure of the creator economy.
And you see that joy reflected in the absolute whiplash-inducing variety of genres he has uploaded within just a few short weeks.
It's a genuinely staggering variety. Let me list some of these titles and styles from the source data because it is wild.
Read them off.
Okay, so one day he uploads Hold the Fire Viking Redone. Literally the very next video on the channel is Stay a Little Longer Rat Pack 2, followed closely by Moonlit Dice and Wine Rat Pack Style.
So he transitions directly from weary PTSD-stricken Viking warriors in a cold fjord into a swinging 1960s Frank Sinatra casino lounge vibe.
And it doesn't stop there. Next, we get Han River Fever, which implies a K-pop or Korean R&B influence.
Yeah.
Then he drops Sabredo Brazil Stay on My Lips, exploring a Latino bossa nova style. Then we suddenly jump to Still standing tall, tailgate anthem, and tailgate gospel country.
He is genre hopping at a speed that would be physically impossible for a traditional musician.
And then, perhaps the most surprising pivot of all, he uploads an entire series of ASMR tracks.
Yes.
ASMR.
Paper Feathers Soft. Soft ASMR 4. Moss on My Sleeve, ASMR 1. He has a whole collection of tracks focused entirely on generating the highly specific textural acoustic phenomena of paper and moss.
If we look at this extreme eclecticism analytically, we can see it is the direct, logical result of the collaborative process we deconstructed earlier.
How so? Like, why does the tool make him so eclectic?
Well, think about the traditional music world. If you are a dedicated death metal guitarist, you've spent thousands of hours building calluses, learning specific sleeping techniques, mastering a specific distortion tone, and immersing yourself in a specific aesthetic.
Right, you live and breathe metal. Exactly. So if you wake up one Tuesday morning and think, I'd really love to write and record a flawless bossa nova track today, the physical and logistical friction to do that is immense.
Oh, it's huge. You'd have to learn incredibly complex jazz chords. You'd have to go buy a nylon string acoustic guitar. You'd have to learn a completely different rhythmic sensibility, like the clave rhythm.
It would take years.
Or you'd have to spend thousands of dollars to hire a completely new backing band of session musicians who actually know how to play that style.
Exactly. The friction keeps you in your lane. Traditional musicians are often down by their physical instrumentation and their budget.
But because AI acts as a universal synthesizer, it entirely removes the friction of physical instrumentation.
A single creator is no longer bound by their physical limitations. They can follow their curiosity absolutely anywhere, instantly.
It is a creative sandbox with no walls. He is treating music generation like pure play.
Just playing around.
He wakes up, feels like hearing Rat Pack jazz, figures out the linguistic keywords required to generate a walking bass line and a horn section, creates it, uploads it to his digital storage locker, and moves on to the next curiosity.
And he teases exactly this mindset at the very end of his Q&A document. Someone asks him what his next musical series is going to be, and he replies, "That's a bit of a watch and listen answer, though as a sneaky preview, look out for the Eurovision grouping to be introduced."
From trauma-laden cinematic Viking chants, to Rat Pack jazz, to whispering ASMR moss sounds, to the sequined hyperpop extravagance of a Eurovision group.
That's amazing.
Why not? That is the central rallying cry of this entire deep dive. If you can synthesize a full orchestra with your keyboard, why not synthesize a Swedish pop ensemble next?
It is entirely liberating. It represents a total decoupling of musical imagination from physical constraints.
So what does this all mean for us? We have journeyed all the way from the mechanical steps of AI prompting deep into the psychological trauma of a fictional Viking warrior and back out into a wild, multi-genre YouTube sandbox run by a guy with 3 subscribers.
A long journey.
If we synthesize all these takeaways, it seems incredibly clear that AI in music isn't inherently a replacement for the human soul.
No, it's a vehicle for it.
I believe that is the core insight. In Richard Pugh's methodology, AI is definitively the new synthesizer.
It is a highly complex translation layer. It allows a single human mind to articulate incredibly nuanced narratives, like the psychological toll of a weary warrior returning to a broken home through iterative, highly specific language.
The art does not live in the generation phase. The art lives entirely in the curation, the relentless editing, and the initial emotional intent.
And I think for you, listening to this deep dive right now, this is a vital moment to really reevaluate your own relationship with these emerging AI tools in whatever field you work in.
Are you viewing them as a threat to your traditional skills? Are you worried they're going to replace the metaphorical calluses on your fingers?
Or are you looking at them as a new type of synthesizer, just sitting there on your desk, waiting for you to learn its specific language?
Waiting for you to type in the exact keywords that will pull the symphony or the business plan or the novel out of your head and into the physical world.
It's a massive paradigm shift from technical execution to creative direction.
And embracing that shift might just open up a level of creative output you never thought you were capable of. I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day.
A parting thought.
Yeah. Think back to those Viking lyrics we discussed. I wore shame like iron mail.
Yeah.
If reading those words makes you feel genuine empathy, and the wide cinematic reverb from his prompt gives you real physical goosebumps on your arms,
Right.
but the voice singing those words and the massive canyon that reverb is bouncing around in never actually existed in physical reality.
Then where is it?
Where does the soul of the music actually live? Is it in the invisible sound waves vibrating the air in your room? Or is it in the intention of the man sitting alone with his headphones, relentlessly typing words into a prompt box until the machine finally understands his pain?
A profound question to end on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.